So welcome to another episode of What's the Privacy? And I've got two guests today. One who I've been trying to speak to for ages, but she's so busy, I've actually got on the train all the way to Cardiff. It's the only thing she'll do to meet me face to face rather than the phone. Ceri Maund, Chief Marketing Officer at PureCyber. And we've got a gatecrasher, Matt Jones, Chief Defensive Security Officer. They got a lovely place right outside is it called the Principality Stadium? It still is. One of the best rugby grounds in the world, but we digress. Both Matt and Ceri have been in Wolfbury initially and PureCyber since its inception. Is that true, Ceri?
I'm 2019. And then Ceri, were you 21,
21, yes. It'll be 3 years in September.
Yeah, and I'm 5 years this month.
5 years. And PureCyber are one of the best dynamic MSP cyber security providers, bang on messaging, bang on their involvement in communities and different verticals that I've seen in the market. It's not high praise, that's just fact. So would you like to contradict that as our Chief Marketing Officer?
I agree with that perfectly, actually, Andrew. Yeah. No, we worked really hard on all those things you just mentioned. So nice to see that that's recognised.
So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about mainly is that marketing, I always think, is a black art. So when I used to run large tenders, I used to poo-poo marketing. And I always remember that the people that we employed to do our marketing used to open our eyes up, because what you thought the messages you were giving out wasn't actually what the public actually saw or the customer actually saw. So I definitely think it's a black magic art of deciphering the jargon, because that's one of your key points, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So cyber can be very confusing. Some businesses understand it, totally get it, have huge teams that they work with, and other businesses is something that they're only just thinking about. But also the term cyber is sort of thrown around in lots of different guises, which doesn't help with the confusion aspect. So yeah, as an organisation, we really try to demystify that and break that down so it's understandable.
It's that translation, right? It's what, as a company, we've always really done, is translate it from the really complex, maybe kind of words that this industry loves to use, to something that a client or somebody off the street can actually understand. And I think that was the main reason behind me Ceri as well, because I think bringing somebody in to actually understand what the techie people say day in, day out can be quite difficult. I think Ceri did that really well from the start.
Yeah, we call it Ceri level, Andrew.
Ceri level, yeah.
Internally, there's Ceri level.
So how many levels are there?
Well, my levels have improved, but when I first began, coming from a non-technical background, was fairly new to cybersecurity. If I couldn't understand it, then how could I expect somebody outside of the organisation that wasn't technical to understand it, take it on board? So we kind of drilled things back to Ceri level.
I call that effective collaboration.
Yeah, well, we like that as well. Yeah,
It is, isn't it?
yeah, it's perfect. I am I suppose, the in-between in terms of the technical sort of delivery side of things.
I'll write something and then it'd be a case of Ceri reads over and goes, oh, what does that word mean? What does that mean? And then again, you're lowering that level to a point where everybody will actually get what you're on about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I suppose, I've seen Damon talk and I've seen your marketing stuff that goes out on all social media platforms. And I've always thought that sounds like a layman's version. I'm putting it into plain English that people can understand rather than throwing out, as you say, jargon. I mean, you mentioned the word cyber. In my day, that used to be called IT security or,
Information security.
Information security. That's disappeared.
Yeah. The term cyber is used in many different ways by organisations. And I know you mentioned sort of confusion and fear sometimes gets wrapped into that in terms of potentially selling something to somebody based on that. So we try and remove that. And so it is more basically described. But also I think sometimes we're dealing with organisations where they don't have a technical expert And so our team guiding them through the process of becoming more resilient and more secure. It's really important that the teams can then discuss at the correct level and improve that business, because sometimes it's the office manager that's leading on the cybersecurity, not the CTO. So it depends on the size and the nature of the business.
Do you think your messaging, the way you presented the brands to the public and to the businesses, and of course the personalities within the company, are one of the main reasons for success? I'd say yes. But looking at some of the posts I've seen recently with the Welsh Government initiative, I mean, that must be basically down to your presentation of your capability of messaging.
Yeah, I think we are very unique in what we offer as a service. So our service stack is, as far as we can tell so far, completely unique. So we are a single point solution for businesses, which I think, again, really helps in that understanding of cyber and how it's all intertwined, because it's obviously quite a complex area. So when a business comes to us, we are one team looking after them in terms of all aspects of cybersecurity, rather than having to deal with potentially 4 or 5 different vendors that don't speak to each other or could have overlap of information. So we, in terms of our service, we try to make it as simple as and efficient and as high quality as possible, but also in terms of our language and how we communicate, particularly around projects, partnership projects. We are really trying to inform and educate businesses through trusted partnerships and collaboration.
And because you're a global organisation now, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I know I talk about Wales, but I just think you're a great advert for the Silicon Valley down here.
Yeah, obviously operated out of Cardiff. We're very proud to have Welsh roots, but with global reach. So we are operating around, I think, 82 countries. Last count, Matt, am I correct?
82.
Yeah, that is growing considerably month by month. We work really hard. We don't have a sales team.
No?
At the moment. So we work very heavily on referrals.
I saw the advert. I saw the advert.
At the moment. I did say at the
moment. I saw the advert.
Yeah, at the moment. That is
I'm busy.
To change. Yeah. That's likely to change. But so we work, a lot of our growth is from referral, recommendation, and strategic partnerships where we've sort of proven how good we are and what we do.
Always how we've always worked since 2019, really. Referrals is everything to us, and our reputation. That's how we grow, and it's why our service is so good, and how we're so unique in the market, because we chuck in everything from the expertise, all of our personalities, whatever, how unique they are.
Yeah, you need the personalities, because it's people behind the company.
Yeah, we're not transactional. So we do, obviously there are transactional elements to what we deliver, but it's a really bespoke and personal approach in terms of our single services, but also our subscriptions, which I think are completely unique in the market and are phased in terms of the complexity or size of the business.
Yeah.
So we've developed those and aligned those to different things. They're moving beasts, shall we say, because cyber is, but we're just basically an extension of our clients' teams.
I mean, you've got a really diverse client base.
Yeah.
Can I mention them?
We don't talk about our clients.
Yeah.
So
I've seen. Well, obviously I see them. Don't I? And I'm thinking, wow.
We don't talk about our clients, but they are very diverse. We can talk about sectors.
Yeah.
So obviously, through our subscriptions, we can work with
one-man band.
When we have a one-woman band, all the way up to, I think it's 50,000, and then points with one client on enterprise level. So the subscriptions are mapped to that, to the size of business, because if we gave our total subscription to us, maybe a less mature organisation, it's going to overwhelm them completely. So we very much work on a phased approach, introducing things that can manage the risk as quickly as possible, particularly if there's any criticals identified, but also at a pace that a company can actually, I wouldn't say enjoy the process, but actually feel like they're taking considerable steps and not just getting confused.
And being in control.
Yeah.
Or guided?
Guided and controlled and on a clear path. So
Comes back to your jargon aspects without the bull.
Yeah, no bull.
We do
swore then. No bull.
We do have an explicit rating on the podcast.
Nice at that.
Only ever one person's ever sworn in that.
If I had a gin and tonic in my hand, it might be different. But so it's and I think the clients appreciate that. It can, with some organisers, be a real hand-holding exercise.
Everything we do for our clients on the reporting side, because that's critical to everything that we do. How do we deliver the data back to the client? So whether that's the pen testing, whether that's the vulnerability scans, the phishing simulations, everything we give back to them should be everything they need to fix. We see so many other security companies where I've seen some charge for the remedial actions.
Yeah.
So you have to pay an extra £200 on the invoice just to know how to fix a vulnerability. Where is the morality really behind that as well, more than anything? But that, again, is where I think we've worked so much on a jargon busting kind of thing. Everything is given to the client and they understand it.
All your hard work and control and management that allows Ceri to go out and have dinner with Dame Kelly Holmes and all the other name-dropping people she mentioned at the Dame Kelly Holmes Champions Ball. That looked like a great event. And I'll tell you a story. Well, I remember her winning her first race. I sat in a hotel room with my children, 2004, 20 years, we said, 20 years ago. For those who don't know who Dame Kelly Holmes is, check her out, 2004. I think it was the 800 metres was her first one.
Yeah.
And the smile on her face when she won that.
Yeah.
The disbelief, did I win? I always remember that.
Yeah.
Was that a good evening?
It was incredible. I'm very lucky and feel very privileged actually to experience quite a few incredibly memorable events or evenings as part of what I do in terms of partnerships and networking. But it was quite an incredible evening with a room full of incredible gold Olympic and double gold Olympic medalists. So quite surreal, really. So, very, very lucky to be at the event with one of our clients.
Oh, you were invited down by your clients? That's even better. That's even better, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
we are very lucky that we have absolutely amazing clients. We are blessed in that sense, in that obviously
and partners.
We've hooked up, and partners, and and I think we are we go above and beyond from a partnership perspective, but also from a client perspective, and I think that's recognised by the breadth of relationships across those businesses.
It does make a difference having a nice relationship with your partners and customers, doesn't it?
Oh, huge. I mean, I love what I do, and I love what the business does, and everyone here is just so proud of the team, the growing team. We're up to about 44 staff and currently recruiting again at the moment.
What I did notice, as I said earlier on, is that when I walked into the building and into your office, we were talking about the disparity of the number of women in cybersecurity. And I'm reading this book here, Corruptible by Brian Klaus, and I'll bring up the stat. I'll have to find my glasses. But it's a shocking stat. It goes back to 2020. He said, this is it. This is about women in business. So in the United Kingdom, as of summer 2020, only 5 of the 100 top companies, the FTSE 100, were led by women. This is the shocking stat, though. That's the shocking one. That's really shocking. Yeah. This is more shocking. More CEOs named Steve were on that list than female CEOs.
Okay, yeah, we are working a lot to kind of break down barriers to business, but also to careers in cybersecurity. It's something that we're passionate about, not just from a diversity point of view in terms of females, but also opportunities to those that might have come from different roots, different backgrounds, because I think this stat's going to be way out probably by now, but I think we were 70,000 cyber professionals short across the UK on average.
Yeah.
And that number is only going to go up. So for us, working in the communities, working with education, working with our partners to showcase how a career in cyber can be open to all is really, really important.
It's why we work like cyber first schemes, schools in the area to actually get people to think about, especially girls in cyber now coming up and trying to work out where do I want to go, Is it, the engineering subjects, computer subjects? And we are seeing people coming through in our local universities, and there are more females, I believe, on the course, seeing them come up from graduation. So it is working. It's just getting them into that job, really.
I always think it helps, though, if you've got a company such as yourself that attracts the right people and you make it look fun. I know we all jest about, it's all about personalities behind the company. You think, I'd like to work for PureCyber. But, it's making it, that's I want to work in cybersecurity.
So you can't, there's a sort of a saying, isn't it? You can't be what you can't see. So we work really heavily in terms of bringing young people into the office rather than going out to speak to them.
Yeah.
So Dame Amanda Blanc was speaking in the Senate on International Women's Day, and she quoted a stat that if you show somebody from a sort of disadvantaged background an actual office and they can see it and believe that they could achieve it, 50% of those children could go on then to... Yeah. And it's an incredible stat. So we flip what we do. So we would go out and speak in schools, we'd go out, speak at careers fairs, we'd be out and about all the time. And we've tried to flip that and bring, actually a client recently brought their community arm of the business in and brought 20 children from Mercer, sort of a little bit up the valleys for a day of experience around cyber. And it was, I just love it. I love all that anyway. But Matt did it, the kind of a SOC demo and did all the active threat detection stuff, which kind of blew their minds a bit. Yeah. And then the penetration team came up with a whole challenge where they had to find clues to crack passwords and things like that.
That's good.
I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
And then they did end with governance and John talking policies, which kind of ruined the day. No, I'm joking. But John did the kind of the governance and risk sort of analysis bit. Which
governance.
It's the glue. It's the glue.
It's the most important thing. So originally, when the CISOs were kicked off, a lot of women, they said, "I'll give it to the women. That's a boring job," which is outrageous in the first instance.
Yeah.
But suddenly realised actually that's the most important job, because you think of all the patching that doesn't get done, all the software updates.
Yeah.
There's all the QA of launching a product, all the red teaming.
Yeah.
So
that team is incredibly busy, and obviously, like you say, it is the glue that holds everything together. And if we go back to basics, which we quite often do, is knowing what data you have, where it is, and who has access and how they use it. That is kind of what John's rowing team is based on, and they deal with everything from cyber essentials to plus to IASME assured, all the way up to ISO 27001. They were incredibly busy.
The big thing in the industry at the minute is people buy software products and don't have the policies, the procedures, and the processes that sit behind it. And that's where that governance team comes in, right? Great, you've got a password manager, right? You've bought it, but what's the processes behind it? How are you going to use it? Who's going to use it? It's there, you've got a patching system in place. Okay, how often do you do patches? And again, you are right, they are the important teams quite easily to kind of, jump on them and say they're a bit boring, but at the end of the day, do keep everything together.
I always think it's all about context. Yeah. So when I used to run my teams years ago, and I looked after the Ministry of Justice, I used to send my teams to prison, because we used to look after prisons. So prisons I've been to, Bridgend.
We do have phishing offenders, because we do phishing simulations for all our clients, which are then followed up with training with our online platform, etc. But for the ones that continue to click, so the repeat offenders as we call them, they get sent to us.
Do they?
Yeah. And then they have to do a session with Tom E, which is pretty heavy going. If they don't repeat the offend again.
Is this your own people? Or?
No. It's clients. So
can I go back to this stat? I just read the bottom bit. I just forgot to say, let's put my wonky glasses on. He said a recent survey of 1,000 Americans asked, could you name a female tech leader? 92% of the respondents admitted they couldn't name a single female tech leader. 8% they said they could. It's not what I want to get to. But when those people were pressed to actually name one, most couldn't. Among those who actually produced a name, guess what 2 of the most common replies were? Alexa and Ceri.
Oh, God.
It's a great book. You've got to read that.
I might have to read, yeah.
It's about how people get into power and what drives them, into corruption. So it's all about going back to prehistoric man and how our brains have developed. And they haven't developed over the last 200 years. We digress massively.
But yeah.
What other initiatives have you got going on in PureCyber?
For us, we tend to work, just because we could be something to everybody, we tend to work on key verticals. So there's some big developments in certain sectors that we are working with at the moment. So law and accountancy, so professional services, obviously continues to be heavily attacked in terms of cyber. So there's a lot of education around and engaging with those sectors. So we're working quite heavily on that.
If you think of law, can I interject? I've said this before about their data. It's like if you went into a sweet shop, this is my analogy, and the shopkeeper knows you and gets all your favourite sweets in together one bag. That's what it's like when you hack a lawyer's place. All that high net worth sensitive data in one little file.
So we are seeing a lot of supply chain attacks at the moment. Some of them are platform or software based, and others are through one organisation to many. So it's like one to many breach, really. So obviously law firms and accountancy firms are perfect sweet shop examples. Last year we were awarded the Welsh Government funding to introduce cyber essentials to law firms in Wales alongside the Law Society Wales, and that was incredibly eye-opening in terms of the levels of maturity of cyber across the law sector. And we've used that to build on this year now with another project. We actually adapted some of our services based on that project as well and introduced the foundations level subscription, which kind of is a step before cyber essentials. We're working really hard with the sector.
And a few ISDN lines out there as well.
So it's an interesting one, depending, like you say, it's some are in transition from how things used to be done to bringing in legal tech systems, that the education around bringing in those systems isn't there enough to do that in an informed way.
Do you think that because they think they know it all, that it would never happen to them?
No, there is an element of that with all businesses. So
well,
I think it's absolutely moving though. So it used
Matt tells me he knows it all.
I know, he does. Yeah. He's very clever. But sometimes there's an element with organising, I'm too small to be attacked, or no one will think about me. But I think that thinking is going.
I think it just varies across the board.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem as well.
And accountants, if you're thinking about accountants, they've got even a more bigger client base with, again, filtered data. So if you imagine hacking an accountant on during March and April.
Yeah. So we have a memorandum of understanding with ACCA, the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, and we are working really heavily on the kind of the education piece. But again, it's the same with a lot of businesses. Some know the risk but don't know where to start. Yeah. Some know the risk but don't have a budget. They've never budgeted for cyber before, so they are starting from nowhere. So introducing an affordable solution is really, really important, and being able to describe and implement that in a simple way, again, is really, really important. But again, accountants, some are very, very technical. When Making Tax Digital came in a number of years ago now, some hands were forced down the cloud and digital route. Yeah. Again, sometimes things have been done with a few remediations required, but sometimes they've done things well. It's a complete mix, but educating and informing around the risk is kind of what we're about.
And making it less burdensome.
Yeah, and just taking that worry away. I mean, we meet people on a regular basis that say cyber is keeping them up at night. Yeah. And often the responsibility is on the shoulders of one individual within an organisation who reports to the board or whoever. And, if something goes wrong, it is on them or seen to be on them. So we take that worry away, really. And
Mate, you like this one, Matt? My friend said, I know what CISO stands for. Career is suddenly over.
Well,
that's a tough job. That's a tough job, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a tough job. And I think because there's so much confusion in terms of what a cyber security provision should look like.
Most of our companies will kind of outsource that particular kind of role and what you would do with that to us. because we can be a bit more kind of, you have to do this, without kind of that. Maybe CISOs don't want to do a particular thing because they might lose their job, right? They don't want to push too far at first because, you know, the boss is not going to like it, bye-bye. Right, where we can go, well, look, we've seen this experience. This is what you should be doing. Do it. So we can be that role.
Yeah, so that's third-party validation and advisory piece that we're sort of outside the organisation, but we know the organisation. So it's a really interesting, you know, sometimes the board has cyber as their number one risk to organisation. Quite often now it is the number one risk, more than a break-in or a fire. You know, we talk about insurance. Cyber insurance is really interesting. So all of our solutions are mapped to minimum insurance standards, because some organisations that we speak to want cyber insurance but can't get it. Really interesting. So, and the board sometimes can be a facilitator to improvement, but also they can sometimes be the barrier to that. So informing and advising on all levels is something that we work tirelessly on. Everyone's responsibility at the end of the day.
I mean, the cyber insurance market is still in its embryonic stages, isn't it? It's still...
Yeah, cyber insurance is really, really interesting, and we're working with a number of underwriters and a number of brokers on a variety of projects. We also have a smart partnership with Welsh Government and Swansea University, and that project is coming to the end in August, which has highlighted what the barriers are to insurance, but also how our services are now mapped to overcome them. And we're just working with an insurer at the moment to show how our services can manage and mitigate the risk to a point where hopefully a policy cost is affordable and achievable to a business. So it's a big project.
When I initially got involved with cyber insurance 2 years ago, the biggest challenge we had, or I saw as the biggest challenge, is the education side within the insurance market. So you had everyone who knew about cyber insurance, they were top notch. But getting the salesman out there to say, go from selling from house insurance to car insurance to now talk about cyber insurance was a challenge. I think it's evolved now.
Yeah, so we're doing, so with all our insurance partners, we hold regular briefings with the teams across the organisation.
Yeah.
So obviously we work with the cyber and tech teams that are specific to cyber insurance, but that wider reach and educating and informing around that is really, really important. Like I say, selling a physical insurance is kind of a little bit different. So we call ourselves kind of a bit of a cyber black box. So we use the car analogy as a really basic example of how we measure, monitor and inform an organisation and the insurer so that they can actually quantify what the risk is, because quite often quantifying the risk is quite difficult.
In this sector, so the more you're monitoring a pen test or whatever it is, it's going to reduce your premiums as well.
Well, yeah.
It used to be where, and that's why a lot of people notice that increase in insurance premiums, because the insurance providers have realised instead of actually investing into technology as a company, they would go, right, instead of paying, I don't know, £10,000 to fix these app support systems, I'm just going to pay the insurance providers £200-300 a year.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, the insurance providers notice that and go, right, let's increase the premiums. And then, therefore, we have seen that move now to people are fixing or implementing actual secure systems, putting in a that they're kind of baseline that you said.
Yeah. And it's interesting the way that different insurers approach the cyber market, especially when we talk about professional services. So cyber used to be sort of bundled in with your professional indemnity insurance. And then since that's been removed, it's become far more complex, and then obviously can be broken down into a number of different policies within its own realm. So it can be, we have people come to us saying, we want cyber insurance, we don't understand the forms. Can you tell us if we do this, or can we work with you so that we can categorically say that we do? And we also have clients that have had to renew their insurance, and they use us obviously to validate how they operate. So it's an interesting space to be involved.
Yeah, customers, insurance companies who I won't name are using us to say, this is your posture. And then if they come up again on another third-party breach, they have to act on it. And whatever they do, will impact on their premium for the next year. It could go down and go up.
Yeah, because quite often they use a vulnerability scan, which is great as a sort of a single point in time analysis. But our subscriptions, because they're a continuous service and process, is completely different in terms of how they can measure the risk on a year by year policy renewal basis. So yeah, it's really interesting, and we're working heavily as well in manufacturing, sport, stadiums, and that area at the moment, and that is really interesting from an insurance perspective.
Yeah, minefield.
Completely different. Yeah. So that's quite an interesting one for us.
I spoke to a number of underwriters, and besides the cyber insurance brokerage route and wholesaler route, I kept on thinking about who's managing the capital risk. Because if you think about all the underwriters or a group of people who put some money in, who's looking after that risk? Because I'd think, oh, look at you, you look pretty exposed. What are you doing about it?
Yeah. So so
it's a bit ironic. But
we work heavily in financial services and fintech and interesting market.
Going back to PureCyber then, how did you get Damon on the front page of the Cardiff Business? Yeah.
So, honestly, a lot of what we do is all relationship based. So, a lot of what we do is build really trusted, credible, reciprocal relationships. One of which being with the owners of Cardiff Life magazine, and they were launching Cardiff Business Life, and we had that relationship with them.
We had it before.
So it's worked really, really lovely, and we are absolutely. So the lady that owns it is Chelsea Pinches Burrows, and it was a fabulous opportunity, and we were, although Damon is fed up, he says, of seeing his face plastered around the office, etc. And I take them wherever we go and put them out just to annoy them.
I couldn't see one down in reception though.
No, they've all gone. People keep taking them.
Oh, okay. Nice magazine.
Yeah, lovely magazine and a really good publication, and we really welcome it to the kind of the Cardiff scene. Yeah. It's a really vibrant business scene in Cardiff and South Wales, and I think it represents that really well. And I think we're a vibrant organisation, so kind of it's a really good fit for us.
So I'm going to ask you both a question now, because as I say, Matt's gate crashed the podcast, and nice to have you, Matt. So this was a question aimed at Ceri, but I'm going to ask you the same thing. It's an important question. One thing in your job that you're doing that you didn't expect.
I think the business has changed quite dramatically.
Yeah.
So I knew that when I joined the business, it was a growing business.
Yeah.
But I think the scale of that has been very welcome, but also I think we're doing some brilliant things, which has been recognised, and our success. Although it's not surprising, the kind of the timeline of that does sort of surprise me. So
that pinch yourself moment.
Yeah, just brilliant. And obviously, when I joined, we were wolf-free. We had a little bit of a disagreement with BlackBerry, or they disagreed with us in terms of trademarking, and we became PureCyber. So absolutely relaunching a complete brand was just amazing. I loved that. I just relish all of that. But again, probably something I wasn't expecting when I started the job. And alongside that, we were able to get new premises. We've grown. We're in One Central Square. We absolutely love what we're doing. So people always say to me, "Oh, you like live and breathe your roles, like things I've done previously." Yeah. I'm all in, but I think everyone in this business is all in, which is just incredible. Yeah, we say lucky, don't we? But we are.
You make your own luck, don't you? Yeah, you have to work hard.
Good people, which I always think is probably one of the best markers for what we do as a business, isn't that people want to come and work for us, like incredible people.
It's not good for skill amazing at what they're amazing pen tester. There's more than that what we look for, it's the personality, because of that personality, who is person really.
Yeah, and we are letting Damon, obviously as our leader, is incredibly passionate about what he does, and as a founder, instigator of all we do, really, he's absolutely brilliant to work with, and I think as a senior team,
I'm going to edit that bit out. We don't want his head to get any bigger, do we?
Oh, he's brilliant. I love working with them, and people say, "How do you work with Damon?" I work with him brilliantly.
Yeah.
And I was lucky to work alongside PureCyber in my previous role on projects, so I felt a little bit I tested the water without being here, so that was good. But
This is a magic art what you do, though. I mean, it's what you, from a marketing, messaging, engagement, that whole thing, and you have to be full on, don't you?
yeah, it's full, it's full on. Yeah. You know,
have to.
we do a.
It's an emotional, you know, all right, let's go for it. And you can't go in there with a miserable, downtrodden face. It's all about positiveness.
We all love it. I think we all love it, and I think that comes across to our clients and
Matt's smiling, by the way.
He's looking at me going, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
But
what about you, Matt? What about you?
Well, what I didn't expect.
What you didn't expect?
Every day, I didn't expect it. I think my journey in this company is very weird, kind of one where it's not the expected one. I started a football kind of man. It was very different kind of company what it is today. So to say I'm doing something I didn't expect to, probably everything is like that.
And also, Matt started on a placement from University of South Wales, so he, you know, incredibly. I mean, you sort of dulled that down a bit, but absolutely incredible journey from Damon recognising talent, obviously given the opportunity of a placement, and then the trajectory that he's got. We are very lucky to have very clever people. Sometimes I go, I don't know quite.
You just reminded me both. I'm just looking at Rob Burrows, you know, the rugby league guy. I listened to his talk at the end. It's about enjoying every day.
Absolutely. And I think we did a lot of work actually with the MND with Doddy. We have because we had some sort of relationship with that, so we have been following Rob's.
For those Americans, we're talking about a classic Doddy Weir, rugby union and rugby league players, Rob Burrows and Doddy Weir, who were diagnosed with M&D and just passed away last couple of years. But if you get a chance, go on to any of the websites and look at the closing speech by Rob Burrows. It was quite touching.
Incredibly, yeah. And you know, at 41 is it's incredibly sad with a young family, but his message was just, you know.
So are you a Cardiff fan then?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah, but I am from the Valleys, Newbridge, so I should be a Dragons fan, really. But
see, that was one of the questions I had.
So we obviously work very heavily in sport. I know, we work very heavily in sport, and it's interesting some of the this is the new avenues that we have at the moment. Everything from Premiership football to cricket, ice hockey, rugby, obviously. Some clubs are closer to you, actually, we're chatting to. I can't tell you yet.
What, Ludlow Rugby Club?
And Ludlow. And then internationally as well. So we've been contacted by quite a few sports organisations around the world.
Okay.
Which will be new.
I must tell you what we're up to on some stuff.
Yeah, brilliant.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Contact
that's it.
They found us from an SEO perspective and loved our values. That was
exactly. That's why it's the right. You know, I wouldn't have said what I said at the beginning. I just think it's just the whole branding, messaging, culture. Yeah. But I got married Gold Tops Newport, so I have to support the Dragons.
You do support the Dragons.
But
and they're lovely, and I will say that I know quite a few of them.
Yeah.
So they are lovely, and I was at Judgment Day on Saturday, and so that was an interesting
Judgment Day,
where all the regions play each other.
Okay, yeah.
So
I couldn't make that.
The Ospreys went through. Yeah, you couldn't make it, but it was
I'd have had a player sent off. I was watching the game.
The Ospreys have gone through to the quarterfinals now, so that's good. So the outcome overall for Welsh rugby was positive.
And you're not into rugby or not?
No, not time for that, right?
Different time. Yeah. Terry's going out having all the fun. Oh, poor Matt.
And then the football side of things, so we've got a fantastic relationship with Welsh national women's and men's team organisation, Football Association Wales, and that's incredible. And we work really closely with them on a number of their values, absolutely intrinsic to ours, and so we work really closely with them on a number of things.
Brilliant, isn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, our app's used in 142 countries. Our free app freaks me out. But when you think about PureCyber and all the different verticals you're across, Anyway, I'd really like to thank you both for your time. Good to get in your diary, Ceri,
I know.
in between
It's taken so long.
in between all these famous people you've been meeting. And Matt,
Well, you're equally as famous.
thanks for joining us. I don't think I'd be able to deal with all the name dropping from Ceri. If you weren't here, I think you kept her on a steady ship. Really enjoyed it. And till next time. Bye.